Hello everyone and welcome to this fly tying tutorial. Today we're gonna tie a pink songer. And well, basically this is a fly that is that really looks really cool. It has an amazing movement in the water. It's very lively, it's very light, so I often fish this on an intermediate line. Also this means that I can fish it relatively fast with the rod under the arm and then really retrieve it fast. It has a front hackle of rabbit as well as a sunker wing, and this is a very elegant, very nice looking fly, and it just pulsates and is so lively in the water. This pattern is really awesome for I mean any kind of saltwater fish, but also for trouts in particular. And of course you can, as always, you can vary this in any colors that you like, but the trick with the rabbit hackle in front really makes a difference. It's an elegant, it's a beautiful looking fly, and it just fishes and performs outstanding. So here goes. Now we're gonna tie this fly. Okay, so here is the fly. Now let's start tying. First thing we need is of course a hook. And for this I'm gonna use a light stinger. This is the Arex NS122. Really nice hook for flies like this. Has a nice wide hook gape, so it really gets it has a very high hook percentage. The first thing we do as always is to cover the hook shank with the tying thread here. Move all the way up the shank and a bit into the bend. And for this fly we need to cover the hook with some dubbing, just to fill out the mylar tubing. So basically I'm just gonna take some leftovers just laying around. This piece here is mangled and I don't need this, so I'm just gonna take some of those. As I said, this is just to fill out the mylar and to make sure we have an even sounder base for the rest of the materials. So just whatever you have laying around you don't use. It just has to be fairly neutral in color, so it doesn't shine through the mylar. This here works fine. And I mean, this is not rocket science. It's basically just using whatever you just have at your disposal that you're not gonna miss. There we go. But an important thing about this fly is to leave a bit more room, a bit more space up here towards the eye, so you have room for your hackle made from the songer, from the rabbit. So basically there we go. And as you can see, I'm leaving maybe 3 millimeters or so of room, and this is just to ensure that I have enough room for my hackle. I made a fast whip finish, cutting off the thread. And then I'm gonna take the mylar here. I'm not gonna take too big a piece. And depending on the hook size, you can of course vary the size of the mylar. But for the 6 and the 4 stinger hooks, which I use, the size small mylar is the best, because this is relatively dense. So it makes the best hook. It makes the best body in the fluorescent pearl color. I'm gonna take the tying thread and reattach it on top of the mylar here, and really apply some pressure here to make sure it stays in place. There we go. Just gonna fold this out here. I'm gonna cut away the tying thread. This tail is a bit too long, so I'm just gonna shorten it a bit. There we go. And then, in order to make sure this really stays in place, I'm gonna use a small amount of the ever-trusted Sabagap here. There we go. And now it's time to do the songer. To do the wing of the fly, and for this I'm gonna use some rabbit strips. This is a light pink with fluorescent pink on top, and then with black striations, black markings. And this is a nice color combination. Of course, you can use all pink, or you could use I mean, this color here, the full fluorescent pink would be great. And if you change the color scheme of overall color scheme of this fly, you can of course do a lot of other things as well. What I like to do with these rabbit strips here is to taper them a bit. So basically what I'm doing is I cut so that it tapers slightly towards the end of this. And this gives you a better looking fly, and a fly that swims a bit more like the real thing. Then I take the hairs here, I moisten my fingers, and then I fold the hairs backwards and upwards, so I have kind of like this space here in between in the middle of the wing here, and I'm gonna place that on top of the hook. Then I'm gonna tie down on there to fasten my songer here in this end. I'm just gonna use a bit more saliva to get this force this the right way. Of course, depending on the hook size, you want the tail to be longer and longer if you use a bigger hook size. I mean, this fly could probably work very well in even really large sizes as well. For in many different colors for many different species of fish. I mean, this is gonna slay perch. This is gonna catch a lot of bass as well, and it's good for I mean basically any type of fish that feeds on minnows. That is opportunistic in their approach to feeding time and just will grab. I mean. Anything that swims that looks like food. Then I'm gonna fold my my rabbit backwards, and then I'm gonna tie down the mylar here in front of the fly, as close to where the dubbing ended as possible. Apply some pressure. There we go. I'm gonna cut away all of this leftover mylar. If this has just been, you know, the original or the flame it's called, then we would have used that as a hackle. But I think that the rabbit hackle really just looks amazing. So we're not gonna do this on this one. And I'm gonna fold my songer forward. And then it's important again here to really pull on the songer wing. So I'm gonna pull it really tight, have it stay completely on top of the hook, and then I'm gonna hold everything in place, and then I'm gonna tie down on top of everything. So this will, as you can see, we have some of the shortest hair here sticking up, and this will give you a more tapered wing and a more correctly looking wing. In regards to proportions, I'm gonna cut off the songer here, and again have a nice sharp pair of scissors so you can cut away as much of this as possible, so it gets nice and clean. I've gotten some rabbit hairs in my mouth. That's not something I recommend. Those are really annoying. But I'll manage. There we go. As you can see, if I had just finished the fly now, I would have a fairly bulky head. But all of this is going to be covered by the hackle of the rabbit that we're going to do now. So I pull out some tying thread to make the dubbing loop. Tie the dubbing loop down. Then make the thread go around the dubbing loop to make sure that the end of the dubbing loop is narrow and closed. Hang this off to the side. And we're going to take about 5 centimeters of the same rabbit songer. And I'm going to make all the hairs stand up so they will fit into my clam. There we go. I'm gonna take my CDC, Swiss CDC clam. This is teasing me. Why won't this be as easy as it normally is? I'm gonna cut it a bit shorter. There is some mangled hairs down here, and this will be sufficient anyway. Oh, there we go. I have the hair sticking out. I'm gonna take my clamp here. There we go. Now I have the hairs inside the, almost all of the hairs. I'm gonna do it again. There we go. Now I have the hairs inside the clamp here. And then I'm gonna cut away the leather. So this has been cut off, and now I only have the hairs inside the tool here. And then I'm gonna pull on these so I get the right length. What you want is, you want something, you want maybe approximately maybe a bit more than 1 centimeter inside of the clamp here, because otherwise you're gonna get a too long hackle. And it's important that you do not have too much of the woolly part here inside your dubbing loop, because then it won't be a successful dubbing loop. So now you can see I've trimmed it quite a bit down here. Maybe I'm going to trim it a bit more to get it as even as possible. And this preparation here is the most crucial part of getting the rabbit hackle the right way. So now I'm gonna pull it even a bit further out, but that's just to get my dubbing loop in the right place. So I have my dubbing loop. I use one finger to keep it open. I use my index finger to keep it open, and then I use my middle finger to pull it open or to close it. I have full videos showing exactly how to make a dubbing loop and stuff like that. So I take my clamp here, and this is curved, as you can see. So I can just basically put this inside the dubbing loop, pull the dubbing loop down to where it is, and now I have caught all the hairs inside my dubbing loop. So I carefully make sure with my finger that the dubbing loop is closed so I can manipulate this. This takes a bit of practice, and then I move the hairs out so they're more evenly spread throughout the dubbing loop here, and I move them closer to the fly. And this takes a bit of practice. So you can see the hairs are inside there, but you can see they are fairly much sticking out of one side that is not the tips. What I want is carefully to push those further into the dubbing loop, very, very closely, carefully. Don't push them all the way through, because then you'll have to start over, but push them so they are as close to the thread of the dubbing loop as possible. Because if you don't do this, now you can see they are fairly close, you will get a very, very, very woolly center that is very difficult to work with. So really, really take care to do this as careful and thoroughly as possible. Now that was a really, really good job I did there. Then I'm gonna take my my dubbing reel, gonna spin it, and then I get this amazing, amazing looking hackle here. And as you can see, the core of this is not very dense. If you have had too much sticking out on the other side, then the core of this would have been too dense, and it simply would not have provided you with the nice clean result as you will get from this. So before you start to turn this, apply a bit of saliva to your hackle here, so you can force it in the right direction before you turn it, as you can see I'm doing here. And then basically you just turn the hackle. Carefully turn the hackle while you hold everything back. There we go. And this is why, because this is fairly woolly hackle, so you need the space that you left for this part of the fly. You need the space out in front here. Otherwise you would have a very, very bulky front of the fly that would not, look ideal. And I'm just going to tie around the base of the dubbing loop here. There we go. Cut away my dubbing loop. I'm going to hold everything back, and then I'm going to create a small head on the fly. And this again will help force the hackle into the right position. And as you can see now, and if you want it to really look perfect, you can of course just apply a bit of saliva, because this is how it's going to look in the water. I have a few hairs that are sticking out here in the front. Just gonna cut those away. But as you can see now, I have the hackle from the rabbit and the songer strip that's gonna move so nice in the water. I have all the fluorescent stuff from the mylar, and this is just gonna slay and slay and slay and slay. There you go. Really nice looking fly that performs outstandingly, and also, I mean, you can apply this technique with the hackle on any type of hair. You can use it with it looks really good with pine squirrel. It looks good with a bisum. It looks really good for very large flies with opossum, and it's just a nice technique to do this dubbing loop. It's also a strong fly, and the hackle here from this rabbit is probably the most lively hackle you can get of anything. So basically, there you go. It's ready to go fishing now, and as always, you can buy every single material used in this video at my web shop. It's called Nordic Anglers. If you haven't done so already, it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, I wish you the best of luck out on the water, and leave a comment if you like the video, and I'll try to get more posted. Thank you very much for watching.